Yo, what is up, everybody? We're back with another episode of the Splat Sports Podcast today. I'm Grant Russell. Our Hunter is not here today, so we have a special guest, Barrett Roberts. Barrett, how are you today?
Doing good. Thank you all for having me on. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, yes, it is. Everybody's been wanting to be on this thing. So, today y'all will get to learn about Barrett, some of his favorite teams, some things that his teams are struggling with. But first, we are going to talk about my Braves, who they made a move. They made a move. They acquired Chris Sale, some would say, who's washed, for one of our shortstop prospects. Hopefully, he exceeds there at the Red Sox. Good luck, Von Grisham. You were good, but we didn't have a spot for you. My only thing to say about Chris Sale is that it's not a high risk move because we're not. I mean, the Red Sox are paying most of his money, and we signed him next year, so it's not really a high risk move. It's just more of a move that if we lose Max Fried next year,
He's going to the Dodgers.
Yeah, everybody goes to the Dodgers. We should have him, and hopefully he can just be the next Charlie Moore and be some old guy who can just average like a 3.5 ERA.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's definitely like worth a gamble, but if it doesn't work out, you didn't give up so much for him. But if it works out, then it works out,
Yeah.
and then you got a good pitcher for maybe 2-3 years. Let's see what he's got left in the tank.
Yep. Yep. All right. First thing we're going to talk about today is the college football playoff and what happened there. Michigan, of course, beating Alabama in overtime, and then Washington beating Texas. Yep. What do you think? What did you think about the Bama Michigan game?
Well, what really stood out to me was Michigan's D line is good and they are fast.
Yes.
And obviously, I know Bama has an inexperienced offensive line. They're a good line, obviously, because they made it to the college football playoff, and you can't have a weakness really to get in that playoff. But they are inexperienced. I think it really showed throughout that game. Just Michigan with the experience and the skill, and like I said, the speed just kind of overtook Bama. I thought, and I think that was really the biggest reason why Michigan won. And they played. I mean, they obviously played a pretty good game.
Yeah, I think it kind of came down to I know Michigan hasn't had, they haven't won a playoff game recently, or they haven't beat the SEC under Harbaugh in a bowl game. But I think the experience with JJ McCarthy, with that very good defensive line, with that front seven, is the reason why they won. Because obviously, Milrow. I mean, he's a good quarterback. I mean, probably top 25% great quarterback in college football. But I just think I'd be surprised if Michigan didn't beat Washington. What'd you think about Washington beating Texas?
I will be honest. I think it kind of surprised me a little bit. I did. I don't. I just didn't think that Washington could sustain their level of offensive output against Texas, who's a Big 12, who's pretty good defensively. I thought maybe it was Pac-12. Pac-12 is not the best at defense, so I was proved wrong. I'm pretty excited about what Washington's doing, especially Penix and with Roma Dunze and their O line and stuff. And I think hopefully they win, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good matchup. Seeing, the top. A lot of experts say Washington's the best online country, probably against the best front seven in the country.
Yeah.
But I mean, who do you think's going to win it?
I'm going to go with Washington here, and I'll give you my reason. I think, obviously what he just mentioned, the O-line against Michigan's front seven, that's like the matchup everyone's looking for. But what I think will win a game for either of these teams is going to be on the other side of the ball. How does Washington's defense compare up against Michigan's offense? If Washington's defense can limit Michigan's defense, because Washington's going to put up points. They have an elite offense. They're going to put up at least 3 touchdowns, I'd say. And so if Washington's defense can just kind of contain Michigan, I would say, and keep them to 2 touchdowns or so, I think they're going to set themselves up for a very good spot to win this game. But if Michigan's offense, they've got to give their defense a chance. They've got to put up some output. They can't put up just 2 touchdowns, whatever. They're going to
Yeah.
have to score at least 3 to 4 just to win this game. So,
Yeah, I don't. Michigan's definitely not seen an offense like this, but I do think Michigan will win just because I don't think because offensively they kind of they want to run it first. I mean JJ McCarthy, he's a great quarterback, but I don't think he's like I don't think they would clearly rather just run the ball. And I don't know if Washington will be able to stop that because I think they'll get wore down over time. And I know that Washington has a great offense, but I think Michigan will get stops.
yeah,
So.
Michigan's physicality is probably one of the best in college football. I mean,
hmm
it showed throughout that Bama game, and Bama's a physical team. They kind of just got beat down over the game. So,
hmm
I definitely see this one going either way,
Yeah.
really.
Yep. All right. Moving on to the same thing or same sport. Barrett's gonna talk about the portal a little bit, especially with Talia. How you say his name?
Talia
Yeah,
Tagovailoa.
Talia. Yeah, and he's now entered the portal. Barrett, where do you think he'll go?
Well, first of all, to start this off, for those who don't know, Talia does not have any eligibility left. So
Yeah.
he's in a bit of a crossroads here. But from what I've understood, he is very, very confident that he will get a waiver from the NCAA, granting him an extra
hmm
year. I mean, his first year at Alabama with his brother gets hurt in a game. Talia's already played in 4 of those games, so he has to go in at the very end of the game. And what does he do? He plays 2 plays and he hands the ball off. So therefore, he's lost his red shirt. So, and then he transfers to Maryland, and the rest is history. So he's very confident that the NCAA will grant him that red shirt waiver, and he will get his 6th year. And if he does, I think he's going to end up at the University of Miami. Just his brother obviously plays for the Dolphins down there. His family's down there. Miami is looking for a quarterback since Tyler Van Dyke transferred out.
hmm
So I think that would be a good fit for him. He's very experienced. Hopefully, he can lead them to what they think they're going to be every year. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Some other news coming out of the portal is that Will Howard is going to the Ohio State. I saw it as kind of like, I mean, I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he'll be anything crazy at good old at the Buckeyes. So I don't. I mean, I still think Michigan's gonna dominate
Yeah,
that
I just kind
conference.
of see him like another version of Kyle McCord, really. And
Yeah.
then
hmm
Judkins,
Yeah.
Keyshawn Judkins, into the portal. It's big news because it's Ole Miss is getting all the people now. And now they kind of lose arguably one of their best players.
hmm
So I think he'll end up going to like a team. I think I could see Bama or Michigan
That
just
has
with their
money. Yeah.
with money, and they pound the rock. So I think he would fit right in with his Corum's gone next year. So I think he could come in immediately and kind of just pretty much fill up that
hmm
gap almost seamlessly.
Yep. hmm All right. Moving on. We got a couple more things to hit. Both of the same sport. We're gonna start in the NBA with basketball. Barrett is a big Warriors fan, big Steph Curry guy.
Go Dubs.
Yeah. Well, they're no one's saying go Dubs right now at the state of that team. Do you think what moves do you think the Warriors should make?
Well, for this year, to kind of I don't know, like patch things that maybe sneak into the playoffs here. I think you got to get a big man. They are extremely thin at the big man position. Right now they only have like Dario Saric and Kevon Looney. So obviously Draymond's been Draymond this year. That's a whole nother story to get into.
Yeah.
But I think his absence has really showed the flaws of
hmm
this team right now. They're lacking in the big man. I think I saw something with Pascal Siakam coming in. I think that could be
Yeah.
decent if they want to win now, because that's kind of really their only option. Because they don't. I mean, unless you just want
hmm
to blow the whole thing up next year, which I really don't think is that bad of an idea. Just because I mean, I think they're old and they've given up a lot of their younger guys to get like Chris Paul, and Chris Paul's hurt now. It hasn't really worked out too good. I think you need to blow it up and
hmm
build around Pojemski and Kaminga, who both showed some really good things this year. So we'll see. I don't think they're going to be anything big this year. I mean, obviously they've shown that they're
Yeah.
not, but
hmm
who knows? Maybe they get hot going into the postseason,
hmm
win a round or two. So
Yeah. I think it's definitely the final year of that. of that dynasty, But at the end of the day, which is weird, is like they're like Kaminga wants out though. Like I know you're saying you want to build around Kaminga, but Kaminga isn't happy with Kerr. He doesn't think he's reaching. He doesn't think Kerr's helping him reach his like full potential or
Yeah,
whatever.
I did see that.
Yeah, and so I don't know, but I did see like I didn't have a problem with the Chris Paul trade just because I saw yesterday. I thought this was interesting. Even if you did have Jordan Poole, like I don't know if that helped too much because among like all qualified players, he's last in plus or minus. Like he's
Yeah,
like when he's on the floor, the team in total is down like 240 something points. And so although he is a pretty good player, he just tried he with the Warriors obviously tried to do too much. He thought that his time was way quicker than what it is because like in a few years he'll be pretty good, but I think he was he wanted to be the guy now,
yeah,
and he wasn't
yeah.
ready for that.
I kind of wish they, I think obviously Poole wasn't going to be a good fit there. And I think this, like Grant said, he wants to be the guy, which is great. But I wish they would have traded him for some more, at least decently younger people than Chris Paul, who's only
Hmm.
about probably 2 years left in
Yeah.
this league. Like he's battling injuries. He's he doesn't really fit our play style. I don't think. I wish they would have traded him for maybe some older veterans, just that we could win now and fit in. But I'm not that Chris is a bad player by any means. He's a great point guard and stuff. But I just don't think that. I think it was a good idea, but the
Hmm.
execution just hasn't been there this year.
Would you try to if they were to go a little bit on the run, let's say make a play in, but they don't make the playoffs, would you trade up to try to get a player, or do you think free agency is the best way to go?
I'm gonna go with free agency just
Okay.
because I don't know. I just don't think
Yeah.
even this year in the draft they took Pojemski due to his ability that they thought he was older and he could fit into this team better. And obviously that's working out great for them right now. He's playing some great basketball, but they took him over like a guy like Cam Whitmore from Villanova,
Hmm.
who
Yeah.
I could see maybe being a better player in the long run, but right now Pojemski is playing a lot better due to his maturity and experience just
Yes.
with his age. So I think you got to go free agency, especially with
Hmm.
a Steve Kerr mindset. They're going to want to pick up some more veterans. I don't know if that's the right move or
Right.
not, but they're going to want to pick up some people that can plug and play and space the floor and hit some threes and
Hmm.
have maturity in the locker room, which I think they're kind of lacking a little bit right now.
Hmm. Yeah. My team is obviously not. I mean, Lakers have struggled recently. I feel like we're kind of ending the Darvin Ham era of our things. I feel like we're almost not as drastic as the Warriors, but we're kind of going a little bit of downfall because our players are kind of how like our players are kind of doing what you're dealing with. Like Austin Reeves isn't happy with Darvin Ham. The team as a whole, the locker room has fallen apart. They don't want Darvin Ham there. Reports have said that if this next stretch is going to decide probably his job or not. uh, I think he needs to be fired? I don't know. I'm not. I don't. I'm not. I don't think an NBA coach is as meaningful as like a coach in college because players are basically fully developed, and like what players can do, and that I mean, there's only like in the NBA you can only play like one or two ways. This isn't like a team in like SEC basketball that just plays defense that plays hard. In the NBA you have to score, and so it's hard to find a coach that can change so much.
Yeah, I think really NBA, like you watch a college game and you watch a player mess up and you see a coach flip out. I mean, screaming, stomping, whatever
Yeah.
at the player. You don't see that in the NBA. I mean,
Hmm.
they get yelled at occasionally, but I think we're coaching the NBA really more as just like a peacemaker in a sense. Like, how can he rally his players to want to play behind him for a year or so? Like, I don't think they're not going to put in all these new sets. No, we're going to play
Hmm.
this way, that way. I think it's really you look at your team. You're like, okay, we got this piece, this piece. How are we going to mesh that together? How are we going to set the rotations, and how are we going to keep all these guys happy so that when the summer comes around, the playoffs come around, we can make a push.
Hmm. Yep. All right. Moving on to our final topic of today's episode, we're going to be talking about NCAA basketball. Our first time talking about this. We are both big Tennessee fans. We both love basketball. We both play basketball, And so we're going to be talking a little about some contenders in March Madness, which of course anything can happen, but it's not going to hurt to talk about it now, of course.
Yeah. Who knows? Who will be this year's FAU? We'll see.
Yeah. All right. So you can start off with some of your teams that you got.
I'll start at my. So I gave 5. I'll start at 5 and work my way up to 1. Rotate. Okay. So number 5, I know this is going to be. Some of y'all are going to disagree. Some of y'all are going to agree. I have Purdue. Now I know what everyone knows what happened last year with Farley Dickinson, whatever. Purdue's good. They're good
Yeah.
every year. They just for some reason cannot put it together in the postseason. But they have one thing working for him, and his name is Zach Edey. He's the most dominant player in college basketball.
Yes.
I agree. He's like the modern day Shaq. If you watch film, they throw it into Edey, the whole team flocks to him. It's like kid in a
Yeah.
candy store here. So I think that's gonna coming down the stretch. Teams are gonna have to pick. Do we want to guard Edey and they suck in and they're gonna kick out for threes, or do we want to take our chances with our post player going one on one with Edey in the post and then live with him making some shots, which he's going to do. He's a good player. So I think that just versatility for Purdue, it's going to either loosen up Edey or Fletcher Lawyer, their point guard, shooter. He's their best like wing player.
Yeah.
So that's why I think Purdue could make a nice run into this tournament.
Yeah. I have Kansas at 5. Just if what you've noticed the past few years in college basketball is the best teams, the player of the years are always a post. And
That's
so, yeah, so like if you don't have a good post, FAU, I know they don't have a great post. They don't have like a 7'2" guy or anything, but Hunter Dickinson is one of the top 3 probably center in the country. Um, they could go all the way, obviously. That's why I'm at 5. But just having a post that's really good, especially in like a 64 team bracket where not everybody's going to have a 7'2" guy who is that skillful, is very crucial. And so that's why I think Kansas is 5, just because they're loaded with talent. They're always loaded with talent. They're blue blood. And so I just think that Hunter Dickinson can carry them all the way if he wanted to.
Yeah, that's a good take. You might see Kansas later on in my list.
Yeah.
All right, my number 4 is Arizona, and I know they haven't been playing good as of recently, but if you look at this tournament over the past couple of years, there's always a team that gets hot. FAU, UNC, UCLA, and there's one common theme with these teams. They shoot a lot of threes, and they're going in, but obviously they cannot go in. So if you look at Arizona, here's why I think they could very easily win it all. Last year they were a very, very good basketball team. They had a nice veteran core, and for the most part, they brought back a few of those pieces who know the Arizona system, know Tommy Lloyd's system. They're very comfortable with that. Obviously, a big part of that was Umar Ballo, who was their breakout player last year. He's beast. He's a great rebounder, great defender, great inside scorer. He's going to be that inside presence for them that they need, like Grant mentioned earlier, like a Dickinson or an Edey. And then you look at the transfer portal. They bring in Caleb Love, the shot chucker from North Carolina. He's been playing pretty good this year, I would say. He definitely has the ability, in my opinion, to get very hot going into the tournament, and that's big trouble for some other teams. Then they have some nice freshmen with Kylan Boswell, who's a very good player. He plays a lot more mature than his age says. I think he's a very good shooter as well. And they added the Johnson guy from San Diego State, who obviously has lots of experience in this tournament, going to the Final Four last year. So I think that's why Arizona could very easily make a run, in my opinion.
All right. I am gonna be the homer. I'm gonna have Tennessee at 4. If you didn't know, Tennessee ranked 5 in country right now. They played Ole Miss yesterday. I was there. They won by 26. Yeah. The thing about Tennessee is that I know Rick Barnes never has success in March, but here he hasn't had much success. But I do think at some point that I think this is the best team he's had. I do think that at some point his defense in March Madness is going to overpower everybody because if you're a top, he's been a top five defense for the past like 3 4 years, and so I think there's going to be a point where Adu is an up and coming good center, and if he can just compete to the just like if he can stop like a Edie, a Dickinson, or a big post like that, Tennessee will have a chance because Tennessee's probably going to allow what 50, 60 points in March unless you're playing like some great team,
Yeah.
great scoring team.
Yeah.
And so when it comes down to it, I think that the defense and the new and Dalton Connect, Zakai Ziegler and Josiah Jordan James, they're old, they're experienced. That will come into a huge factor for Tennessee, and I think that could take them all the way. Even though I'm a homer.
Yep. Number 3, I have Tennessee as well. So I'll spend a little bit more on this as why.
Yeah.
I don't. When I look back at teams that have made good runs, have won it all in this tournament. If you look up the makeup of their team, they're experienced and they
Yes.
play very well with each other.
Yes.
If you look at Tennessee's roster, you got 2 fifth-year seniors in Josiah Jordan James and Santiago Vescovi. Zakai Ziegler and Jonas Adu are juniors. Dalton Connect's a fifth-year senior. I know he's new to the program, but he has lots of maturity and experience throughout college. And I think that is really going to be helpful going down the run because they've been through they're battle tested. I mean, just in this year alone, they've played some very, very good teams and lost and won against a couple of them. So that's going to help. And then I think also their depth. Their depth is probably one of the best in the nation. They've got some really, really good players who are just bench warmers right now.
Yes.
So I think last year with Ziegler going down, I think Tennessee was kind of scrambling. Oh, who's going to play point guard? Who's going to pick up that? And you look at that now, and it's like, well, we've got Jimmy here on the bench who can really play point guard here for us. He's a good player. He can fill in really nicely. So I think that's obviously something you really, really want to have in your back pocket. I mean, knock on wood here. Hopefully that doesn't happen to anyone.
Yes.
But if it does, I don't think as a Tennessee fan you completely flip out. Obviously, you're going to miss like your starting point guard, but you've got people that can step in and at least play good enough to where Tennessee can get the ball into their playmakers' hands. And obviously they're going to hang their hat on defense no matter what, so that helps them as well. So I think hopefully if they have some good offensive output in the tournament, which has kind of been their kryptonite here as of late, if they can do that, then they're going to be you better watch out.
Okay. Disclaimer for me. I am not ranking these 5 in order. I'm just saying the 5 that I think have the best shot because I'm going to put Kentucky at 3, and it's because they are loaded in talent. But if you've looked at the past few years, teams in talent, they make it far, but this is probably the most talented young team that Calipari might have ever had among freshman-wise. And so if you look at a team that's loaded with young talent, they obviously have Reeves, who's, he's
nice
basically
veteran.
Nice veteran of that team. If you look at a team like Arkansas, I know Arkansas is not doing good this year. Right now, they're pretty, they'll play great, then they'll play bad.
They got beat by 30 points yesterday.
Yes, I know that, but but Eric Musselman, he's a great recruit. He's kind of like Mario Cristobal of college basketball because he's not a great coach, but he can recruit the living crap out of anybody.
I see that, yeah.
Yeah, but with his teams in Arkansas, they always make a run in March because of the talent. Last year, they make Sweet 16, or is it round 32?
I don't believe so. I think it was round 32.
Round 32.
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah. Or the year before that even. His teams are loaded with talent, and they make it to the second weekend. One team might have made it to the third weekend. And I think this Kentucky roster has more talent than those teams, and they also have a better coach in Calipari. So when I see that, I think that if this team can figure it out, they can win it all because each player on that team is a loaded 5-star prospect.
Yeah, I think so far they've meshed pretty well, a lot better than I've expected at least. I think I kind of thought this would either be what it is now or a complete train wreck, and so far I think they're doing a pretty good job of not letting their egos get in the way, which is something you find a lot with a team like Kentucky with all those 5 stars. So good job, Kentucky. Okay, Number two, I mean, like I said with Grant, I think any of these 5 teams have an equal
Hmm.
chance to do something. So
Yes.
number two, I got UConn, and obviously they're the reigning national championship, and they like Tennessee, they brought back a lot of that core. So here they are again. They're playing good
Yeah.
ball.
Hmm.
Dan Hurley's a pretty good. He's a good, great coach, and he knows what he's doing. He's been there, obviously. They won it last year. He is,
Hmm.
they're very experienced in this tournament, which is something that never hurts a team. And then with with that great core, they also have Stephon Castle, the really good freshman guard who I think could really make some noise in this tournament. He's a good guard. He's really physical. I think that that is going to help lead them along because they have a nice mix of veteran and freshman, which is something that I think is really, really, really beneficial for a team.
Hmm.
So UConn, let's see what y'all got again. They got what's that big post name?
I was just thinking about that because I was going to mention him.
Yeah,
I don't know for sure, but
yeah, number 21. He's a
yeah,
really, really good player.
yeah, uh-huh.
He kind of got overshadowed last year by their other post player who I'm also blanking on right now. So,
Yeah,
or yeah, so let's see what UConn's got this
yeah,
year.
yeah. I have a team. I have Purdue as my second because Um, obviously, they're very similar to Kansas in a way. They have a great post. They have a lot of talent there. With a historically good program like the Boilermakers, and so the reason why I do have them a little bit ahead of Kansas is just because Zach Edey. He's what I love about Purdue is that Edey gets the line a lot. A lot of people, think he's a baby. He flops a little bit, because he gets to the line so much. But what I love about him is that he's a great free throw shooter too, and that team as a whole is a great free throw shooter. So when I add on to a great post, great depth on that team, and they can hit free throws because coaches always say free throws will win you games, you know.
It's true.
Yeah, and so when I see that, I can see a team that has probably going to be the Naismith Player of the Year again,
Yeah,
and a team
for
that
sure.
has that depth. And I think that they have probably one of the best chances to win it because of that.
The UConn guys, the UConn post name was Donovan Klingen. He wears 32, not 21. So sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think obviously I talk on Purdue a lot. I think Edey is, it's kind of like just throwing out your best shot with him. I don't think there's really anyone in college basketball that can like really match up with him man for man well. So you got to adjust your defense around him and throw different stunts and cover
Yeah.
downs and stuff on him. So I think that's going to mess up the team's defense and get open shots for their guards. So that's why I think
Yeah.
Purdue will make a nice little run in this.
Yeah, and my final team is UConn. The thing that puts them over the top to me is that when you have a coach and a team that plays together that well, and a team that's won a championship, they know what it's like to go through. All those games. They know what it's like the grind. You're playing every other day sometimes, and when you have a team that plays together and a team that's won it and a coach that is experienced and knows how's to play, when you're playing back to back days and when you're scouting on the spot, you only get like so many hours and stuff. I think that's very beneficial, and that's why I think that UConn can win it repeat.
Yep. And my number one team is going to be the Kansas Jayhawks. They, I talked about Tennessee earlier with their veteran core. I think Kansas has an even more like veteran core than UT does, and UT's got
Yeah.
a very good veteran core. I think they bring back DeJuan Harris, who's one of the best point guards in college basketball. Even though he doesn't score a lot, he just knows the game so well, and he's so impactful on the defensive end and with facilitating for his guys. Obviously, you bring in Hunter Dickinson, who's a very experienced transfer. He's been there with Michigan. He's played in the tournament before. He's a great player. He can
Mm-hmm.
shoot too, which is something Edey
Yeah.
can't do. He can really space the floor out. He
Yeah.
can hit a three, which is something you've got to guard. So that just adds another wrinkle into the Kansas. They got McCullough. They got some really nice pieces off the bench as well. Some high energetic, and they won it 2 years ago. So Bill Self, their legendary head coach, has been there, done that. They've got
Yeah.
players who are on this team now or still on that national championship team who know what it's like
Mm-hmm.
like you said, have the grind, the gauntlet of the NCAA tournament. And so I think that's really going to pay out some dividends for them.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you for watching this episode, Barrett. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me on. It was a blast.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Tune in for next week, guys. Next episode will be out next Monday, probably around 4 or 5 o'clock, and we'll see you next time.
Adios.